This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Today we're going to be unboxing a sealed mint box copy of the Warhammer 40k 3rd edition starter set. Assembling the models, paging through the rulebook, and recalling some of the nostalgia from the far-off year of 1998. Warhammer 40k 3rd edition is widely regarded as one of the most important editions of the world's most popular miniatures game, and for good reason. While the 1st edition, Rogue Trader, was more of a role-playing game, and 2nd edition was a sort of first draft for what the modern game might become, 3rd edition took that first draft and revised it, crafting for us the factions, lore, and most importantly, the grimdark aesthetic that the modern game would be known for. When we look at this box and then we look at the current game, honestly, not a whole lot has changed. The artwork here is obviously so much better than anything the current game has to offer us, but in many ways the aesthetic is just more of a high-res version of what we got here. And in this hobbyist's opinion, that's kind of the issue with modern Games Workshop. Much like what happened to The Simpsons, current Warhammer 40k is just 3rd edition, but with the lines tightened to such a degree that it's lost any sort of edge or heart that the original rulebooks might have had. But that could be a whole other video. Let's get to the unboxing. You can see my copy is still in the original plastic. I've had this box for over a year now, and I've been waiting for the right time to unbox it and make a video like this ever since. After taking the plastic off, I was really impressed with how deluxe this box feels. The artwork is really crisply printed. There's just tons of extra tiny little sketches and paintings all along the sides of the box, and even though this box has been sitting on my shelf for over a year now, I feel like I haven't really been able to appreciate the cover art until right now. Let's just take a moment to appreciate this incredible artwork by John Blanche, and how different it feels from the 2nd edition box released in 1992. Whereas 2nd edition represents to me the general optimism and radical attitude of the late 80s and early 90s, 3rd edition positively reeks of the too cool for you / bright colors are for losers attitude of the late 90s and early 2000s. The inside of the box smells like what my first Games Workshop models smelled like when I first unboxed them in 2001. And the first thing we are greeted with when we open this box is an all-new sprue of Gothic ruins that I'm sure you've seen before. Directly beneath this, we have our brand new set of modular Space Marine sprues. These were all new for this box set and combined the modularity of those 1st edition Marines with some of the art style of the 2nd edition Marines. Below this, we have our Landspeeder sprue, of which a few pieces appear to have broken off, followed up by the dark Eldar sprues, which were an all-new faction for this box set. Below this, there are a few more terrain sprues, including the iconic 3rd edition tree sprue. We also have what looks like some templates for weapons, one of the pieces that broke off the Landspeeder, the classic red rulers, and a Games Workshop catalog that looks to me like it's from either holiday 2001 or early 2002, because it contains both Lord of the Rings and Tau releases, but no Tyranids or any Necrons. As a sidebar, I do find it a little bit disappointing, but not surprising, that this box isn't from the print run of the original 1998 release. But that's okay, we're still getting all of the original content that was in that box. Below this, we have the iconic 3rd edition rulebook, which appears to be a bit scuffed up from shipping, but still in pretty good condition generally. And the smell of this book is just incredible. I have to say, it's just pure nostalgia. We've also got some dice, a more fantasy-themed version of the catalog, a Read Me First booklet that shows you how to quickly play the game and how to assemble the models, as well as some cardboard reminder cards to make playing the game just a little bit easier. Finally, we have a few accessory sprues, including the ones for the Space Marine shoulder pads, hands, guns, backpacks, as well as what is known as the Space Marine Special Accessory sprue. More on that later. The final thing in this box is a few of those classic 25mm bases, and that's about it. When I first started assembly on this box, I kind of figured that it would be relatively the same as modern models, with maybe a few differences. Or if not that, then maybe it would be similar to assembling the 6th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle Starter set. But I cannot stress this enough, I was completely wrong about this. Putting this set together was more time intensive, but also more deeply satisfying than any Games Workshop kit that I've put together thus far. I feel like a good comparison is that modern models are like an IKEA product or a Lego kit. You can build a few options, but generally you're just following the instructions to get that model put together as quickly as possible. This set is nothing like that. It barely even has an instruction booklet telling you how to put the figures together. Instead, it just gives you a few basic principles to follow, and then instructs you to go completely buck wild and do whatever you want with these kits. In fact, speaking of Lego, these Marines remind me a lot of the way Lego minifigures are designed. They all have basically the same construction, so every arm fits with every torso. Every gun fits into every arm. Every head fits into every head socket, and so on. There's a lot of options, not just for posability, but for customization. And this was branded as a modular system at the time as well. And if you like modular systems as much as I do, you're gonna love this week's sponsor, Squarespace. Ever since the far-off year of 1998, I have been fascinated by the concept of having my own website. But it was always a little bit too difficult for my non-technical brain to wrap its head around. That is, until I discovered Squarespace. For over a decade now, Squarespace has been my go-to solution for making websites. Much like this box set, they give you just a ton of different tools and options that all click together in modular ways. So whether you want to build a portfolio, a blog, a web store, or a rules compendium for your fantasy golf game, I would encourage you to check out squarespace.com/Dana Howl today for a free trial. Take a look around, mess around with some of their fun templates and options, and when you're ready to launch your website, use the code DanaHowl at checkout to get 10% off your purchase of your first website or domain. If you wanted more of a certain part, you could buy the individual sprues through mail order and customize your guys to be exactly how you wanted them to be. It's a very cool system, and as an example of this, you can build 10 vanilla Marines from this kit, or you can build up to 1 leader figure, 1 heavy weapons guy, and 1 guy equipped with a flamer by using the included special accessory sprue. It's just very cool. It was a lot of fun to put together these Marines, and every time I finished one, it was very much like, this is my Marine. I made it, and it's unique from anyone else's Marine. Which is completely different than the feeling I get these days by putting a kit together by just following the instructions. The Dark Eldar are constructed in a similar way, albeit with a little bit less modularity, and unfortunately, no special accessories sprue. But there's still a lot of fun to be had here. To begin with, the Dark Eldar sprues come with both male and female torsos, which are interchangeable with all of the other parts. And this is something I don't think I can say for almost any of the modern kits from Games Workshop. And while some of the bits are a bit fiddly and hard to put together, I once again appreciate all the modularity involved here, and that even the extra spikes are separate so that each of these little pirates can be unique. The final playable piece in the set is the Space Marine Landspeeder. I'm not sure if this kit was unique to this release or not, but either way, it's a fascinating piece of design work. It was clearly designed to not just be a model, but a toy with multiple moving parts. The back doors open and close. The gunner can move around to better show what he's shooting at. And the whole thing is on a ball joint so you can pose it in all kinds of fun ways. Finally, let's talk a little bit about the terrain that comes with this set. First of all, let me just say I really appreciate how much terrain was included with this set. You get a good variety of ruins, trees, and scatter terrain to show new gamers who buy this set what different terrain can be used for. The ruins and scatter terrain are pretty standard, but what I really want to talk about is these tree sprues. Personally, I think this set of trees is really well designed, and I wish these sprues were still for sale from Games Workshop today. Much like many of the other models in this set, these trees are designed in a modular way, with each piece using a peg and socket system to fit together. You can create anything from little shrubs to massive trees with this set, and some of these pieces would even work great as some standalone foliage to create other terrain pieces or to add to a model's base. The only frustrating thing here is that the trees have trouble standing up on their own, but I feel like these were meant to be added to a larger base to create little forest pieces of terrain. So I don't really think it's much of an issue. Finally, let's talk about the rulebook. The 3rd edition 40k rulebook is just this beautiful artifact. It's so densely packed with artwork, rules, and setting material that there's absolutely no way I can cover it all in this one video. So instead, I'm just going to give you a few of my impressions of this book and what I like about it versus modern 40k rulebooks. Number 1, it's a complete game. Unlike any modern rulebooks from Games Workshop, this book and this box actually contains everything you need to play the game. That should just be a thing that's taken for granted, but with modern Games Workshop, we really can't take that for granted. This book and this box actually contains everything you need to play the game. No additional codexes or rules supplements required. 3rd edition was a complete reset from previous editions, streamlining the rules and making all of the books from 2nd edition completely useless. However, as a nice gift to the players, this book actually contains a large section with updated stats for every current unit in the game, to my knowledge. So if you bought this book at the time and you had an existing army, you could just get started right away playing in the new edition. Individual codexes for each army would eventually be released, but they were more like game expansions than necessary purchases. And if you want to, you can still play 3rd edition 40k using just this rulebook to this day. Leave a note down in the comments if you'd like to see me try that out. Number 2, this game knows exactly what it is. One of my largest issues with modern Games Workshop products is they appear to be designed by committee. While the actual rules in the book tell you it's a grimdark setting with no good guys and nothing but endless war, everything about the design language of these books is telling you that this is a generic space game with heroic good guys and obvious bad guys. In contrast, let's take a look at the 3rd edition core rulebook. Everything from the cover art to the font to graphic design to the interior artwork is helping to reinforce the fact that there are no heroes here. There is no grand epic story here. There is only the grim darkness of the gothic future, and I would argue that that aesthetic is the point. Much like some of my favorite Vaporwave albums, there is no deeper meaning to be found here, and that's okay. That's the point. 3rd edition 40k is about a grim and dark future, where no individual soldier matters. Everything is rusty and gothic and filled with bits of filigree and meaningless detail, and this aesthetic is carried through by every single thing in this book. In contrast, the modern rulebooks attempt to copy this style by upping the resolution, as it were, trying to do the same style of artwork as John Blanche, but adding color, removing all of the sketchiness, and instead of just giving you some impressions of what this universe might feel like, all of the blank spaces are just completely filled in for you. Anyway, this video has become long enough. Let's move on. In conclusion, this box set represents, to me personally, an amazing achievement in both art and design. And I would fully recommend that you pick up a copy if you're ever able to do so. I love Games Workshop's current miniatures. They are these amazing little statues, and I love to paint and play with them. However, they lack something fundamental when you have to compare them to this box set. While Games Workshop's current offerings feel like they are manufactured by a perfect machine, this box set feels handcrafted by actual human artists. People who understood that a bucket of fun bits that can be used in lots of different ways is more interesting than a sanitary box set which can only build you 16 miniatures for $200 that can only be assembled one of a few different ways. I've legitimately never understood the complaint against monopose models until assembling this box set and understanding what it means to put together figures that can be posed any way you want. I've been your host, Dana Howl. Thank you to Squarespace and our lovely patrons for sponsoring this video. I'll see you in the next video.